I started my real estate photography business at $0 per month, and since then I've scaled it to well over $50,000 per month. And on this video, I want to share with you really the 3-step formula that I accidentally figured out through so much trial and error, so many mistakes, so much wasted time, in the hopes that you can not do that you can copy the stuff that works and leave the stuff that doesn't, because that's really what properly building a business, what wisdom is, what learning is. You know, if you just do everything that everybody did wrong and you have to do it yourself, that's not a good way to learn, in my opinion. So here are the things that really held me back, the biggest things that if you cannot do will help you grow really fast. If you're just starting your business or you're doing less than $5,000 a month, this video is a little bit ahead, but it's never a bad idea to learn what you're going to struggle potentially with in the future. If you're already doing between 5 and 20K per month in your real estate media business, this video is for you. So the first thing is a thought that will mess you up, that almost everybody I've ever worked with as they've scaled their business from that 5 to 20K month mark to over 50K has felt. So it's like a very common thing. And that is, in some form or another, feeling like you are the only person that can do what you do. Maybe it's in all areas of your business, or maybe it's in a single area. So it's really easy to become like a 10, 15K a month booked up real estate photographer. Really easy is relative. It still takes trying, there's still effort involved, but like it's not that hard to get to. And that's the reason why you see a lot of people get there between 5 and 15K a month, because it's all you. So that's easy. Anything you can control is easy. It is harder getting people to do what you want them to do. And so the thought that creeps into people's mind, at least a lot of the people I've talked to, is like, oh, my business is different, or my clients wouldn't like that, or my process is too hard to train, or I tried that before and it didn't work. And if you have that mentality, you're not going to do it, right? You just won't do it. And so the thing that I always repeat to myself, which is when you're feeling that, it's actually ego. And when I say ego, I think ego is something that I misunderstood and that maybe a lot of people don't understand, or this is my definition of it. And I think maybe this is like widespread, I don't know, but when I hear ego, I don't think of pride. I think pride and ego are potentially different. Ego is based in fear, in my opinion. So when you say like, hey, I'm the only one that can do that, that's kind of like a thing you're boosting yourself up, is the way I think about it. And the reason you're saying that is because you're actually afraid of someone else messing up and it ruining your business. So when you say ego, like only I can do that, it's actually fear. When someone says something that makes you feel bad, your ego reacts. Your emotions, cause that ego to fuel itself up, but it's always fear-based. It's not because you think you're so good. It's actually because you're just not sure what's going to happen if somebody else does it. So the biggest thing you have to know is it is going to require other people to get to 50K a month. It is a non-negotiable, at least for the long term. In some markets, maybe if you have a $1,000 average order value, you could get to 50K yourself, but what's the point? If you want to scale past that and you want to build a real business, you have to build a team. So a phrase that helps me anytime I think about this, because when I first started, I thought no one else could shoot photos like me. And then I hired a photographer and realized they could. And I'm like, that's fine, but no one else can edit like me. And I'm like, wait a second, you can outsource the editing. And then I was like, that's fine. Like someone can shoot and edit, but nobody can do the customer service that I do, that can talk to our clients, text them, book shoots. And then I hired an awesome admin and she was better than me, right? And then I thought, okay, well, you can hire an admin, you can hire photographers, but you can't hire a CEO to run the business. And then I hired a CEO to run the business and it's continued to go well. And so the phrase that I was going to get to, and then I went off on a tangent, is if you can train, if a neurosurgeon can be trained, you can train anybody in your photography business, I promise you, right? Now, the thing to keep in mind though, is if you have a really complicated workflow, it's going to take longer. Like a neurosurgeon takes a long time to train. So I'm not saying that you can just justify everything you do as someone can learn it. It's your job to make it simpler, but just know, and the whole point of number one is that if you can do it, it can be done and someone else can do it. And then again, just because you do it that way doesn't mean it has to be done that way. So ditch the ego. Understand, if you want to grow at least, you have to get past yourself. You have to make other people the hero in your company, right? Your photographers have to be who your clients like. And right now that's not the case, and that's why you're scared, because you think, oh, they like me. Because you don't know who you're picturing. You don't know that dude out there named whatever Adam that's going to be an awesome fit for your business. You just don't know him yet, so you have fear. But what if Adam was the best thing you did for your business and your clients loved Adam? Then you'd be just fine. And so you have to hire. And number one is understanding that if a neurosurgeon can be trained, anybody in your business can be trained, and that's a requirement to scale. Number two, and kind of along the same lines, is just because you find somebody that can do the job doesn't mean your job ends. Your job actually changes. And that job change is what allows you to scale. So when it's just you right now, you're building your business, and it's really easy to move fast and get stuff done, and that's awesome. But what you have to do if you want to scale, at least well, and not with all the issues. I had all the issues because I tried to do Eli executing and then I'd get mad when the team didn't do what I wanted. Your job becomes you build the team that builds the business. You no longer just build the business anymore. You actually work through your team to build the business. And so here's the mistake. A lot of people hire somebody and then they get frustrated that that person isn't perfect, or that person makes mistakes, or that person asks them questions. They're like, wait a second, I hired you to do the shoots so I could have this time to do other stuff, and now you're asking me questions. And what you didn't quite connect the dots on, what I didn't quite connect the dots on, is that is your new job. When you hire somebody, sure, it frees up your time, but it also creates a new job for you, which is being a manager. And so if you think about management big picture, in my opinion, your job, and this is another saying that I absolutely love, your job is to build the people who build the business. So you're building your team, you're managing them properly, you're building company culture, you're teaching them. It's a very hard, and being good at management is very hard. It's a very hard thing to do. It's a skill that you're constantly going to be working on. It's a spectrum. It's not good or bad at management. It's how good are you. You don't want to, great management doesn't just result in obedience, and that's why it takes time. So poor managers say, do it this way because that's the way we do it. And that creates obedience, but what you really want is understanding. So like, hey, I see what you're saying. We actually did it that way and it didn't work because of this reason. And I know like, it doesn't make sense, but when you think about that, like, do you see what I'm saying? And then they go, oh yes. And now they understand. They don't just have obedience. They understand why you do the things the way you do. And that's why it takes time, because your job is to build the people that build the business, not just put a robot in place and expect obedience. And a lot of new managers struggle with that. They're like, oh, just do it. Just do it because I told you, because it works. That's not how you build a business, right? You need to build people that are capable of building the business. And that starts with your first photographer. It becomes more important the more you grow. You know, my job in my business now is very little building the actual business, doing the actual work. It's teaching and building and coaching the team that does the work. And the reason I've been able to build a great real estate media business that doesn't rely on me is because there's awesome people there. It's not about the systems, and there's not a bunch of robots, right? You need to have systems, you need to have processes, but ultimately you need to build the people who can build the business, who can become the stars. It's so interesting how, you know, a few years after not being CEO of my own business, people don't know me. I used to be pick up the phone, call an agent, they'd be like, oh, thanks so much for calling, Eli. Now if I call, they're like, Eli, who's that? And that's what you actually want to have happen in your business. And the only way you do that is by building the people, building the team that builds the business. And you build them into having understanding so that they can actually know what they're doing. It's experience, right? Number 3, the third thing is, you got to become a good operator who makes decisions based in numbers. So I have the strength of growing a business and getting a lot of clients, and I'm a growth-oriented person. Typically, growth-oriented people, not so good at operations, processes, numbers, and being dialed in. And so that is a skill that you need to develop in yourself to some extent, and you also need to know who you are, whether you're an operator or a growth person, and as quickly as you can hire someone that can do the opposite. So in my photo business, I'm really good at growing it. I'm not that great at optimizing it, making sure the systems are great. I do a lot of things the old-fashioned way, which doesn't help grow a business. And I also am not the best at optimizing for profit. So what do? What's the secret? Well, I hire someone. So Jared on my team was someone who started out as a photographer, and then he showed that he was he never made any mistakes. He was dialed in. It was always perfect. I was like, that'd be a great person to help run the business, right? And so he moved up in the company and became CEO, and he ran the business for me for a while. And then he's even moved to the coaching side of our business. And now someone else named Trent, who's also awesome, runs the business. But that skill is something that other people have. So if you don't have it, you need to find, or whichever of those you don't have, it's usually really good at operations or really good at growth. They're two different people. You need to have a little bit of each skill, but you really need to focus on getting someone in your business at that point who can do both. And so if you're all one of them, you're not going to grow a business that's well-rounded or experienced enough in either of those categories to run things smoothly. And so that's my advice to you. If you're trying to get to the next level is I know that sounds simple, but those are 3 very important things. You'll notice none of those was you need to use this system or you need to do things in this way. There are so many ways to build a business. Your job is to be good at all of the basics that need to operate for your business. So you need to know that you can train people. You need to train and manage those people well, build a team that builds the business, and you need to operate the business smoothly. And if you do those things, there's a lot of things that's going to lead to that are the tactics. So if you start with the big picture stuff, the tactics fall into place. And that's what I recommend for growing. If you have any questions about this, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to answer. And if you want our help step by step, if you already have an existing photo business, We have a coaching program called Forward that's more advanced, and it's about this. It's scaling your business using our COST acronym, which is clients, owners, systems, and team. We work on those buckets to grow your business. So if you're interested in that, there's a link below where you can chat with my team. You don't even have to be like interested in coaching. We'd love to talk, and we give you advice on the call. Like, hey, here's where we think your business is. Here's what we think the roadmap would look like. You can take that roadmap and do it yourself if you like, or you can, in my opinion, do it the smart way and let us help you with that. So you'll find that below. I'll see you in the next video.